From Carsick to Traffic Trick. Hi everyone, I'm Jacob, I'm the Cowhat Librarian, and I'm here today to talk to you about The Colossus of Rhodes, please note the spelling, by Christina Uss. I stumbled onto this one about a year ago, I believe, in our library's new juvenile fiction collection, and I really quite enjoyed it. Rick has a problem with his stomach. He gets carsick very, very, very easily. He gets carsick so easily that it has become his nickname, or had become his nickname at his previous school, Carsick Rick. Everyone knew him. Nobody wanted to ride with him. To make life easier, his parents moved within walking distance of a school, so Rick doesn't have to ride everywhere. But his stomach ailment makes life difficult. Even when he's craving a cheeseburger, he and his dad can't just drive out to the In-N-Out to get one, because he'll get sick on the way. He can't go visit friends and family easily because he'll get sick on the way. But as a side effect of him not being able to go for car rides, he has developed an obsession with roads and streets and traffic patterns. He spends an inordinate amount of time remapping traffic flows in his head and on maps and looking through images on Google Streets, trying to figure out how things could be done better, and he has all sorts of theories about it. But when he's written to the Los Angeles Department of Transportation, he can't get a response from anyone. No one is interested in hearing from a kid about his ideas on traffic theory. So Rick's parents operate a catering service, and business hasn't been very good. And they're hoping to get a big job with a movie studio that wants to cater a production, and they're bidding for the contract, but it comes with the requirement that they have to prove they can deliver their food on time. The problem is that their path to getting to the movie studio involves them going through Sepulveda Boulevard, the busiest and most congested spot in all of Los Angeles. So Rick tries to help his parents find different routes around the city to make their deliveries more efficient, and to a certain extent he's successful, but this is a bigger problem than he can handle. Well, fate intervenes. Rick has been going over to a neighbor's house for childcare after school, and he's become friends with the daughter of the house, and they're good friends. They sit down and Rick sketches out traffic ideas while his friend does some writing and drawing, and they are very, very good companions. And his friend has a Girl Scouts meeting coming up where they're going to do a special art project, redecorating old road signs. Now, Rick jumps at the chance. He is thrilled at the idea that he might be able to get his hands on some road signs. So Rick goes along to the meeting with the idea that instead of painting and decorating the road signs, he can just return them to their former glory by touching them up with a little bit of black paint and white paint. As it turns out, the artist doing this project with the Girl Scout group has a sister who's head of the Department of Transportation for Los Angeles, and happens to have work orders so that they can have the art projects displayed around the community when they're done. So Rick's friend and her other Girl Scout troop members get to work painting dragons and unicorns and all sorts of stuff on the signs, while Rick fixes them up. And one day he notices that traffic outside of the center they're working at is very, very bad. So he takes a couple of his road signs out and replaces the ones on the street. And the next time he goes to the Girl Scout group, he's thrilled to see that traffic is flowing amazingly well on that street. He's thrilled. It's confirmation that he understands traffic. But later on, all of his work is undone. Someone vandalizes his signs and tears them down and returns traffic to its stop and start flow. Well, as Rick finds out, there are many more forces influencing traffic than he believes. There are groups of cyclists and pedestrians who try to sabotage traffic to make it safer for them to walk and bike on the street instead of having quick-moving cars and trucks. There's a group of grandmothers that communicate by CB radio, including Rick's friend's grandmother, who are amazing drivers and who maneuver their vehicles into places where they can intervene with the traffic flow to make it safer for people. There's all this stuff happening behind the scenes, and Rick is exposed to the world of it by his work with those road signs. Anyway, with this project underway and Rick having access to road signs and work orders and having the looming threat of his parents' business being in bad shape if they can't get this catering contract, he's motivated to start his biggest project ever under the alias, the Colossus of Rhodes. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. It's hilarious trying to see this kid who has overcome his car sickness to become obsessed with how motor vehicles move. The group of grandmothers interfering with traffic to make things safer was hilarious. And I thoroughly enjoyed this book and its characters and its plot. With that said, there are spoilers ahead because I have to talk about the deal breaker. Now, for me, the Colossus of Rhodes did have one enormous deal breaker, or rather a series of smaller deal breakers. I like this book, but it relies on the thinnest string of coincidences for it to happen. Rick just happens to have a friend who's a member of a Girl Scout troop doing a project with traffic signs led by a woman whose sister is the head of the Department of Transportation and who gives blank work orders to her sister for the installation of art projects at the exact same time that Rick's family needs to have a smooth traffic flow to a movie studio on the other side of Los Angeles after he's spent years studying traffic flow and coming up with his own solutions. It is the thinnest chain of coincidences ever. And if even one of them didn't take place, nothing would happen in this book. I understand that the author probably had this great idea. A kid fixes traffic in Los Angeles and worked backwards to an origin for it. That's at least how I assume she came up with the story. But the string of coincidences was a little much. And it made it feel like a story that would not happen in the real world. The characters felt real, the individual elements felt very real, but as a whole, this was kind of ridiculous. The other thing is that the author needed a climax for the book and provides one by having an earthquake where Rick and the Girl Scout group and the head of the Department of Transportation and her sister are all sort of trapped at the center they're at because of the earthquake, and Rick works out safe routes for them all to get home. And I understand they needed a little more action for the climax, I get it, but it felt really, really false to me also. Like, Rick's a smart kid, he looks at streets a lot, but that doesn't mean he's going to just know the fastest routes home and understand every street and every speed limit and everything else to organize something of that magnitude, even with help. It wasn't like the past project where he could closely examine a particular stretch and implement very, very targeted solutions to address the traffic problems. It was a wider range thing, and I'm not sure. I understand he was helping out in an emergency, but it really left me flat. The victory here is him saving his parents' business by fixing the traffic flow over the Sepulveda Pass. This other part just felt kind of glommed on. At any rate, I still enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it, and I recommend it. If you've got a kid in your life, either your child or a student or a patron at your library who likes roads and streets and maps, I'd recommend the Colossus of Rhodes. Now, as for a recommendation, if you have someone who liked A Snicker of Magic by Natalie Lloyd, which I also happen to have right here, and they're willing to try something else that has a similar tone of sorts without the magical elements, I'd recommend Colossus of Rhodes. With that, that's about it for this one. Please like, please subscribe, and please check back to see what else I've got to talk about from the Cowhat Library. Thank you. Bye now.